events of sexual reproduction. So basically what happens in the sexual reproduction is that fusion of gametes happens. Fusion of gametes happens. So these gametes can come from one single organism, or these gametes can come from two different organisms. The gametes can come from single organism or they can come from two different organisms. Please focus here. This thing is not that clearly explained in NCERT, but this will build up your concept. When I am saying single organism, the gametes are coming from single organism. It does not mean that this sexual reproduction is same as that of asexual reproduction, in which there was involvement of a single parent. It's not that. In asexual reproduction, there was no formation of the gametes. But here, there is one organism which is forming gametes, but the same one organism is forming two different gametes. The male gametes and the female gametes both are formed from one single organism. So this is the difference. Please do not mix it with the asexual reproduction. In the asexual reproduction, there was no gamete formation at all. So when I am saying such an organism, it will be called hermaphrodite. So hermaphrodite are those organisms. Obviously they are when they are undergoing sexual reproduction, it means that these organisms will be eukaryotic, higher eukaryotic organisms, or simply the eukaryotic organisms. So hermaphrodite example can be earthworms, tapeworms and leeches, etc. So these organisms are hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite means the same earthworm will produce male gamete as well as the female gamete. Suppose this is the earthworm. In the earthworm there are segments. So in this segment it will have ovary and also the male reproductive organ, which will be testis. So this particular segment of earthworm will be having both ovary and the testis, and ovary will produce what? Female gamete, and testis will produce what? The male gametes. So female gametes are produced from the ovary and male gametes are formed from the testis, but these two organs are located on one single earthworm. One single earthworm has these two. So this is the reason why both the gametes are formed from a single organism. But still there are two gametes, two different gametes. So these two gametes will fuse. When they fuse, it will be the purpose of the sexual reproduction. They will fulfill the purpose of sexual reproduction. And two different organisms, you clearly know this. The gametes from two different organisms. Example is human beings, plants, basically human beings, plants, cats, etc. Two different organisms. The gametes are coming from two different organisms. The male gamete is coming from male organism, female gamete is coming from the female organism. So the name of the two gametes is different in different organisms. In case of animals, male gamete is said to be sperm and the female gamete is called ovum or egg. But in case of plants, the male gamete is called microspore and the female gamete is called megaspore. But actually microspore means pollen grain, which is not exactly the male gamete. Microspore means pollen grain, which is not the male gamete. Instead, this pollen grain contains the gamete, contains the two male gamete. Then when I am saying megaspore, so megaspore can also be termed as egg. Egg in case of female plants. So these are the different names. Sometimes the sperm is also termed as spermatozoids. The same way here in case of plants, the male gamete can also be termed as antherozoid. So if I say antherozoid, you have to consider that it is the male gamete in plants. Male gametes in plants is antherozoid, or you can relate it with the pollen grain. Male gamete, pollen grain, but pollen grain is not actually the male gamete. It contains the two male gametes. The pollen grain is a structure which contains the two male gametes. So this was about the gametes. Next we are studying the events in case of sexual reproduction. Hope you are making the notes also. Okay, so the main event in case of sexual reproduction is the fusion of gametes. The main event is this one. Main event of sexual reproduction is fusion of gametes, and this fusion of gametes is termed as fertilization. Fertilization, fusion of gametes, and this fertilization is the main event of sexual reproduction. So the other events, the whole complete sexual reproduction is divided into 3 events. So those 3 events are defined on the basis of fertilization, such as the 3 events are pre-fertilization events, the fertilization, and third one, post-fertilization events. Means fertilization is happening. Before that there is pre-fertilization event. Pre means before, and here is post. Post-fertilization means after fertilization. So the complete sexual reproduction process is broken down into 3 events: the pre-fertilization events, the fertilization, which is the main event of this sexual reproduction, then the third one, which is post-fertilization events, means what happens after fertilization has occurred. So let us come to the pre-fertilization event. What can be there in, what can happen before the fertilization? So pre-fertilization events consists of, basically here you have to study 2 things: gametogenesis and the gamete transfer. Gamete transfer. I am saying pre-fertilization. Fertilization has not happened. Fertilization has not happened. So what are the things required for fertilization to happen? It is basically the gametes. The 2 gametes are required. So those 2 gametes need to be formed. You have seen that the male gamete is formed in the male organism, female gamete is formed in the female organism, but they have to form inside those organisms first. So that formation of gametes is termed as gametogenesis. This can be defined as process of formation of gametes. Process of formation of gametes is termed as gametogenesis. Genesis means formation. Gameto means formation of the gametes. So the gametogenesis will happen separately for the male gamete and the female gamete. Means for the male gametes there will be another gametogenesis taking place inside male body, and for female gamete formation there will be separate events happening inside the female body. So after the gametes are formed, they will have to be transferred because they have to fuse. Male gamete is in the male body and female gamete is in the female body. It will not help, it cannot fuse until they are brought together. So the transfer, in the gamete transfer, what happens? One of the gametes, suppose the male gamete is transferred to the female body where it fuses with the female gamete, and then the fertilization event is said to be happened. So gamete transfer, in most of the cases it is the male gamete which is motile in nature. So male gamete can be transferred from the male body to the female body. So before that, let us understand what is gamete. I am proceeding with the gametogenesis. Pre-fertilization events consists of gametogenesis and gamete transfer, means everything we have to study in the pre-fertilization events is about the gametes. So let us understand what is gamete. What is gamete? When I am saying the term gamete, what do you think? Is it any microorganism? Or is it any chemical secreted by the male and female body? What is gamete? What is it? What is gamete? Is it any microorganism? Do you think that 2 microorganisms can fuse to form the zygote? Is it so? Or whether you think that these 2 are the 2 chemicals which are fusing together and they are giving rise to the zygote? Is it so? No, it's not that. So what is gamete? Gamete is nothing but a cell. Gamete is a cell. And cell you know very well. Cell you know very well. Cell is the building block. Suppose my skin is made up of thousands of cells. This much of my skin will be consisting of thousands of cells. So that cell and the gamete, what is the difference between the gamete and what is the difference between this body cell? So gamete is also one of the cells, but it is haploid cell. Haploid in nature. This is haploid in nature. Gametes are haploid cells. a cell which is haploid. Now what is haploid? This is haploid, but my body cell will be diploid. So what is haploid and diploid? Suppose in case of human beings there are 46 chromosomes in total. Out of that the half will be there in the gamete. 46, the half of 46 is 23. So gamete contains the half of the total chromosomes which is there inside any organism. Means an organism is having certain number of chromosomes, so the gamete will be containing half of that complete set of chromosome. So that half chromosome is half of the total chromosome. Half of the total chromosome. This condition is termed to be haploid. For example, in human beings, the gametes contain, human being gamete contains 23 chromosomes. 23 chromosomes only. But in actual, the human beings has 46 chromosomes. Human being has 46 chromosomes. So this number is diploid number. Diploid. Therefore, the human beings are termed to be diploid organism. When we have to form the gamete from this particular human being, we have to reduce the 46 chromosome into half. Means 46 divided by 2, which is 23. So this 23 is the haploid number. Haploid in nature means they have half the total number of chromosomes. The gametes of a particular organism will be having half the number of total chromosomes occurring in that particular organism. Gamete of one organism will be having half the number of total chromosomes which the nature has given to that particular organism. So this is the gamete. So do you think why does the fertilization happens? What is the need of fertilization? This question will be asked in your exams also. Why does the fertilization happens? Why can't one gamete form the complete organism? Need for two gametes. What is the need for two gametes? Two gametes are required because this is the female gamete. This has n number of chromosomes. Suppose this is a gamete of dog. The dog is also diploid organism. So it will be having 2n. 2n number of chromosomes are there in the dog, which is a diploid organism. So in the gamete, that 2n will be half. So 2n divided by 2. 2n divided by 2 is equal to n. So n number means half number of this will be there in the gamete. So female gamete has half number of chromosomes. If this gamete develops into young one, so this particular young one will be having just half number of the complete set of chromosomes which was required for a dog to sustain its life. 2n number of chromosome is required for the dog to sustain its life, but the young one is having half number of the chromosome. So this young one cannot survive. This will absolutely die. So therefore, there is need of one more haploid gamete. There is need for one more gamete which is the male gamete. This again will be having n number of chromosomes. Now these two will fuse. These two will fuse, and n plus n is equal to 2n. So 2n is formed, means this 2n, now the young one will be having 2n, and 2n means dog. This dog individual, this young one now has 2n, therefore it can survive. So this is the purpose of fusion. Why is there need of fusion of the gametes? Fusion of gametes happens to restore the total number of chromosomes found in that particular species. So in case of plants, there can be different types of gametes formed. In case of plants, the gametes can be of similar size or of dissimilar size. The gametes in case of plants can be of similar size or dissimilar size. So when they are of similar size, they are termed as homogametes or isogametes. Iso means same. Isogametes. For example, there is an algae whose male gamete and female gamete both are of same size. So these two are the example of the homogametes or the isogametes. Next is the dissimilar size. When the size is dissimilar, it can be termed as heterogametes. Hetero means different, homo means same. So different size. The two gametes, the male and female gametes, are different in size. For example, in humans, this is the ovum and this is the sperm. So both of these two are different in their appearance, means morphology. They are morphologically dissimilar, as well as they are different in their sizes. This one is quite large, this is quite small. So these are the heterogametes, homogametes and heterogametes.